Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please? No?
Yes, just
Bueller.
sorry, I messed up my.
Bueller.
I don't know. I guess, do you want me to call the names?
Okay.
Oh, you got it?
Sorry, yes, I got
That's
it.
okay.
Thank you. Chairperson Silman,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Brookman,
Here.
Commissioner Noor, Commissioner Sandhu,
Here.
Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Dale, and Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Thank you. This meeting is being held in the council chambers and is open for public attendance and participation. Commissioner Noor and Commissioner Dale did let us know that they were not going to be here tonight, so I want to make that. So the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Campbell, would you lead us, please?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comments on items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Members of the public submitting a written request at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be normally allotted 5 minutes to speak. Do we have any comments from the public on any items? Okay. All right. Planning Commission business. Agenda modifications. Planning commissioners, do you have any anything to modify the agenda? It's been a long day. Okay. How about approval of the minutes of August 28th, 2024? Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll motion we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Business items. Consideration of a 2-year time extension for Development Plan 1701 Woodward Street Hotel, located on the south side of Woodward Street and west of State Route 99. Jaspreet Kaur, Associate Planner, will give us the lowdown.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. So just as mentioned, we are going to be considering development plan amendment, a time extension request. So this is for a hotel which is located on just south of Woodward Street and then west of Highway 99. As shown on this screen, so the red is going to be the hotel site, and then in yellow is the additional parking, which is currently owned by Caltrans. So background, Development Plan 1701 allowed for the construction and operation of a 4-story, 83-room hotel with a 6,000 square foot convention and a banquet hall. And there was also a use permit associated with the project, which allowed the building height to exceed from 52 to 55 feet. So in 2018, the entitlements were approved. In 2020, the applicant did request their first time extension, which was approved. In May of 2022, the second extension was approved. And then he did also request a development plan amendment. So on August 24th, 2022, the development plan was amended from 91 rooms to an 8,000 square foot convention and a banquet hall. And also the building height was reduced to 49 feet, which is in line with our code. So the use permit is no longer being required. So the extension request, so our code does allow for extensions as long as the applicant has made a written request and if it's determined that the conditions haven't changed where we should deny the request. So in August, we did receive the extension from the applicant. And he stated that he's getting pretty close to getting his financing completed and hopes to break ground soon. And then previously, he did actually submit building permit plans. So there is progress. I believe really the holdup was just getting that financing to go through. So here's a site plan. As you can see on the screen, we've got the hotel with the required parking. Here are the elevations that were approved in 2022. And for the environmental, mitigated negative declaration was approved by the Planning Commission on August 24th, 2022. So staff believes that everything in that still is the same and applies, so no additional analysis was warranted with the extension. So our recommendation tonight is to approve a 2-year extension of time for Development Plan Amendment 1701, resulting in a new expiration date of August 24th, 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for commissioners? Nothing this way? You're all good this way? Okay, well, how about a motion? It's not a public, we don't have to open up to the public, so we just need a motion to move forward for the extension.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2-year extension.
Okay, thank you. You want a second?
I will second that.
Are we all tired tonight? All right, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to consideration of a use permit amendment 1904, construction of a new building, including a paved parking lot, lighting, landscaping on a 0.20 acre vacant parcel at 969 Clark Avenue. And again, Jaspreet.
All right, so up next we have a use permit amendment. So this is for a new storage building to be constructed at 969 Clark Avenue. And they are also proposing a paved parking lot, lighting, and landscaping. So this site is located just south of Ellis Way and then east of Clark Avenue. And so as shown on the screen, it's currently just a vacant lot as people have been parking on it anyways. So a little bit of background on this project. So March 25th, 2020, Development Plan 1903 and Use Permit 1904 was approved by Planning Commission for the construction of a new convenience store with fuel sales and a coffee shop with a drive-through. So just a year later, the construction was complete for a 4,000 square foot building shell. So it included 2 suites. So we have Suite A and Suite B with the Starbucks. And the other one is actually still vacant because the plan for the fuel sales changed ultimately. In April of 2024, we did receive an application to amend the existing use permit to construct the new paved parking lot with the storage building. And the project will include lighting, landscaping, and will meet all the city requirements. So this was what was originally approved. So you can see there's the proposed retail, so north of the parcel with the proposed Circle K in Suite B, and then just south of Ellis Way was where the proposed canopy was going to be. And so today what we have on the screen is going to be ultimately a new parking lot with about a 300 square foot storage building. And the building design, so again, the development is going to comply with the standards that are required in our code, and then the building design will complement the existing building to the north, so the Starbucks and that vacant building, or the vacant suites. So a condition of approval was added to enhance the exterior elevation. So we are requesting something similar, if this will work. So we are requesting either some sort of like painting to match this, but the exterior does currently have that same bricks and stone veneer, and the lighting is going to be decorative. And they are also going to have a new 6-foot masonry wall that's going to be along the eastern property line. It's going to be similar to this wall, just 6 feet, so double the height, and that is per our code. When you have commercial abutting a residential district, we do require a 6-foot masonry wall. Site improvements, so they are going to be replacing the curb and gutter on Ellis Way, and also the drain inlet is going to be modified to facilitate traffic to get into the parking lot. So if you actually look closely on the plans, you'll see the parking lot is going to back into Ellis Way. So just with that, we want to make sure that this drain inlet is going to be modified to make sure if a car is to go over it, that it won't affect the car, I guess. So really just want to make sure that the flow of traffic. And so also they are proposing a new driveway to be constructed on Clark Avenue. So there is a condition in there that any modifications to the existing striping will be required because currently it is a double solid line. So we want to make sure that if anyone is going to be coming southbound on Clark Avenue, that they are legally able to turn in. So lighting, we are, so the applicant is proposing to put up 3 new light poles. So it's going to be lit, so for safety concerns as well, and then it's not bleeding off site. So as you can see, it's more along the sidewalk that's being proposed, and we do have one here in the corner. And then all of this here is going to be landscaped, and then you have your storage here. And so here are the elevations. So as mentioned, we do have them incorporating a similar stone brick veneer. And then we are going to request just something along the top of the building as well. So use permit findings. So this is still consistent with our code and then what was part of the original approval. And for the environmental, we still believe that it is exempt from CEQA per guideline section 15303, so new construction or conversion of small structures. So no additional CEQA was completed for this project. Our recommendation tonight is to conduct a public hearing and make the necessary findings to adopt a resolution to determine that the project is categorically exempt and approve use permit amendment 1904, subject to the conditions of approval to allow the construction of a new storage building with a paved parking lot, the required lighting and landscaping on the vacant parcel located at 969 Clark Avenue. I am also happy to answer any questions, and we do have the applicant and owner here as well.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
I do.
Go ahead.
Jaspreet, could you go back and address the issue of when you show the site plan, that one, thank you. Whoop.
Oh, one more. This
Yeah,
one.
so I'm assuming that the top part of that graphic is Ellis?
Correct.
Okay. Is there going to be fencing along that?
So right here?
Yes.
No, so these are the parking stalls. It's very similar
Oh,
to
okay,
what you'll
okay.
see.
So it's direct
just-
drive-in, okay.
Yes, yeah. So similar to what's on the what's on the west side of Clark Avenue, where you are able to back up into Ellis Way.
Only question, you wouldn't put a fence there?
Well,
Appreciate it.
There's a house there, though. When you turn on Ellis, isn't there a house?
The house is over here.
Oh, and that's going to have the concrete. Oh, okay.
Correct, yeah. So they will be replacing the wooden fence and then putting up a 6-foot masonry wall.
Okay, I see it now.
Thank you for clarifying
Okay.
and being polite in doing so.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to yay or nay, or nope, you're good? Okay. If you, no, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you got? Tell us what's really going on, Ryan. Oh, turn your little mic thing for recording purposes.
We good?
Your little thing, yeah, sorry.
I'm Ryan Rogers with Lakeview. We're developing the site. So we're moving ahead with a convenience store design into that other building shell, and we wanted to improve the parking situation since, we needed it, been busy in that location. The actual storage unit was really just to support the convenience store there, so it is adding a lot of cost in terms of the design to try to make it that, but I think it's going to be a nice looking facility, and we're looking forward to, if we get our work finished with Starbucks, that we'll be able to hopefully get started on that somewhat quickly for the parking there in the location.
Thank you.
I was curious though in the
Yeah.
design, it on the street pictures, I didn't see the double yellow line. I know that blocking off and striping and all that is a significant piece, but I don't believe there's any double yellow. Doesn't visually look like there's any double yellow there now. I was curious.
It's these guys right here, and I do have Josh from Public Works available to help answer any questions, but really these, I don't know the exact term for them, but these do count as double solid lines.
Okay.
So,
All right, no, that answered my question.
yeah, so it would just be, you would have to remove them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any question?
No, I think it's a great use. So I guess my question, because I know when you come south, for me to get into Starbucks, is there a little turn lane there now? Yeah, there is one. So you're going to basically do the same thing going that way too, then, right?
Well, there'll be a driveway, a parking off of the alley side, so I think a lot of the traffic will take
Oh,
the
they'll just
same
come right
turn.
there, either go to Starbucks or
But
go to
they
the
can come
parking
from the other
lot?
direction from the south and turn right into the parking lot.
Gotcha.
There as well. So we'll be encouraging strongly that will be employee parking to kind of free up more parking in front of the store.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's tricky to get,
Yeah,
employees to
there's
park
never
over
any
but-
parking there.
But that's the intent. They have a lot
Okay.
of employees, and it's good that they're doing well and traffic is good there, so.
Hey, it's an eyesore now, so I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much,
Okay,
guys.
thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? I'm going to close public comment and looking for a motion.
Make a motion to adopt resolution to determine project as category exempt from California Environmental Quality Act CEQA pursuant to guidelines section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures, and approve use permit amendment 19-04, subject to the conditions of approval to allow the construction of a new storage building with a paved parking lot and required lighting and landscaping on the vacant parcel located at 969 Clark Avenue, assessor's parcel number 052-152-001.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, let's go all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all that you do anyway, Ryan and team. All right. So we're going to go consideration of zoning code amendment ZC 2401, revising the development standard for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and junior accessory dwelling units, JADUs, for consistency with state law. Oh, it's different. Deputy Director of Development Services, Doug Libby.
Good evening. Little housekeeping. So right before the start of the meeting, I got a message from the city attorney's office. One minor update, we need to do additional change to the draft ordinance that's before you, is if you looked in the ordinance and the pages of the ordinance itself are numbered, so it would be page 14, and it's section 8-5.8029 G6. And so you'll see in that, it's a small paragraph, and there's a reference, the existing language says January 1st, 2018. We need to change it to January 1st, 2020. So Just a little housekeeping there. Okay. So really for this item, we're here to, I think as you said, Chair Silman, to update the ADU, JADU ordinance in our code to incorporate the statutory changes to make it consistent with state law. So sometimes the question's asked, well, what is an ADU? It's a residential unit that provides complete independent living facilities, including kitchen, bathroom, is located on a lot with either proposed or existing home. There's also a smaller version of these called a junior accessory dwelling unit. So ADUs can go up to 1,200 square feet under the statute. The JADUs can go up to 500 square feet. ADUs can be attached or detached, whereas the JADU can only be attached. So they can take a lot of different forms. And I stole these images from our website, and it kind of gives you an indication of how these two things can be developed on property. So what are some of the benefits of these separate units? Well, they add a variety to the available housing options that we have in our city. It doesn't require the purchase of new land, so people are developing these on their existing single-family lots or actually multifamily, and could minimize the cost of infrastructure. Suitable in a variety of location and context. They utilize standard building materials, which is important to help minimize costs. These units can also come in a prefabricated option as well as modular. They provide additional housing compatible with single-family neighborhoods, opportunities for supplemental income if you rent them out. They provide an option for independent living for aging in place, and they can provide privacy for multi-generational households. So probably the last two bullet points really ring home to me. My wife and I actually have a detached ADU at our property where my mother-in-law lives. And it works really well for her independence, her privacy. But when she needs us, we're close by. And it just works really well. Okay, so our legislature, God love them, they almost can't help themselves. They make changes. They like to tinker with the laws, and they have tinkered with the ADU law almost annually. And so it puts cities and counties almost in this, we're always behind, trying to update local ordinances to make it compatible or consistent with the changes. We last updated ours in March of 2022. And so we've got a couple batches of changes that we really need to get carried forward into the code. So what are some of the proposed revisions? Well, the current zoning clearance requirement, we're going to have to take that out. Really, the state wants to see these as it's just an allowed use. You go through the building permit process, and your staff can check the standards while you're going through that. So the zoning clearance provision is proposed to be eliminated. The units may be established in all zone districts that allow a dwelling unit. So this is really a change, because when you typically think of ADUs, you're thinking of residential districts, right? So R1, R2, R3. However, you can also develop them now in commercial and industrial districts. So if you were to look in our code, you would see that they allow for either a manager's unit, a caretaker unit, something like that. Well, now you have to allow for an ADU if you allow any type of residential there. And so the update is proposed to make that clear in our code. And it's important to also recognize that if you even have a legal non-conforming dwelling, so you can think of that as like a grandfathered home on a property, if it's legal there, then you're allowed to establish an ADU. This next paragraph is a little bit wordy, but in a nutshell, if you have an attached ADU, it's considered solely within the existing proposed space. If there's just a minor expansion up to 150 square feet that is designed to accommodate access and doesn't exceed 16 feet in height. So we're making that change to include that in there. We're also clarifying that in multifamily dwellings, you can develop these things in an existing multifamily structure that is not used as living space. And the statute gives us examples of storage rooms, boiler rooms, passageways, attics, basements, and garages, but you have to convert it through a building permit process and get a certificate of occupancy for that. Detached ADU must be located on the same lot as the proposed or existing dwelling, including detached garages. Seems self-explanatory. Seems reasonable. One of the biggest changes I think is probably most helpful for both the end user, the public, and for staff is we've really tried to consolidate the development standards as much as possible into a single table. It's real easy you can look with someone or direct them to a table where you can see things kind of in one location. It just makes it easier both for the public and staff. Okay, so this next section is probably where we're going to end up spending most of our time. And this is really an option under the statute. So ADUs have a maximum allowed square footage of 1,200 square feet, but they do allow for ADU sizes to be limited to 850 square feet for one-bedroom units and 1,000 square feet when there's more than one bedroom. Well, you're kind of thinking, well, why would you want to do that? Well, the reason is because when you think about a city-sized lot, and when you often fill it substantially with a home, sometimes people have a patio cover, they have a covered barbecue, they might have a shed, and when you have an ADU that's not subject to maximum percent lot coverage requirement, you could really fill a single-family lot up with structures. And when you get that kind of by multiples across the city, it can really create a cluttered look. Even though it's in a backyard, it's definitely you're going to be covering these parcels substantially with structures. Now, this is an option. The language before you actually calls for switching to this 850 to 1,000, but it's not required. If the commission's consensus is we love the 1,200 square feet, great, we can keep it that way. So we're also proposing that attached ADUs will continue to be limited to half of the floor area of an existing or proposed primary home. So we're updating it with the limitations that we just discussed. So basically, to keep the math simple, if you had a 2,000 square foot home, 50% would be 1,000 square feet. Well, if you proposed a one-bedroom ADU, you'd really be limited to 850 square feet. If you proposed more than one bedroom, then you could go to 1,000 square feet. Okay, findings. In order to change the code, we need to make certain findings, consistency with the general plan. There's a public benefit, and the ordinance won't be detrimental or cause adverse effects to adjacent property owners, residents, or the public. We've made suggested findings in the resolution before the Planning Commission. Regarding environmental review, I'm happy to report that Public Resources Code 21080.17 says that CEQA does not apply to the doing this ordinance update, so environmental review is not required. So staff's recommendation, conduct a public hearing, provide feedback to staff, and then adopt a resolution recommending the City Council find the project is exempt from environmental review, and recommend the City Council approve the update to the code, Zoning Code Amendment 2401, repealing and replacing the current standards for ADUs and JADUs, and update applicable zoning code land use tables for consistency with state law. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Are there questions for Mr. Libby? Go ahead.
Through the chair. Doug, I just have a question. I'm glad you addressed the crowding issue on a lot and how that would look with covered barbecues and patios and such, and the spacing issue on that. Have you gotten any feedback, or do you know of any other areas that have implemented this and how that works with neighbors?
So I appreciate the question. We try not to operate in a vacuum. So we actually did a survey of other cities in the region and surveyed 10 cities in our region, and 4 out of the 10 had the lower 850, 1,000 threshold. Others had primarily the 1,200 square feet. One had the kind of a slight hybrid where for multifamily development, they allowed ADUs by the 850 to 1,000. But really it was 4 jurisdictions did the lower threshold, 6 went with the higher threshold. So your question is how would it look, or how would it work, or?
I guess more like from the crowding aspect of it, of having like just somebody else living in a space that close to maybe your neighbor. I don't know. It just, as you were talking about it, it went to my mind, like, what would it, as a neighbor, how would I feel if the person behind me or next to me built an ADU in their backyard?
I'd say generally speaking, the statute for side and rear setbacks is kind of built in for all cities and counties at 4 feet. There's a general standard of 16 feet in height. There is some options to go a little bit higher, but generally you're looking at 16 feet.
All right, thank you.
So a majority of other cities stuck with the maximum?
They did.
Okay. And I don't think the 4 feet would, with the setbacks, I think it's just this, it's the same as if it's just the house. Because nowadays with a lot of new construction, I swear if you stick your hand out, you can high five your neighbor. So I think the principle would be the same. And in regard to lot coverage, I don't think it would necessarily be as visible. So I don't think the appearance of having highly densely covered lots is as big of an issue unless you're looking at Google Maps, for example. That's the only time you'd really see how covered the lots are.
But I do like the idea that the 850, to 1,000, because you're right. If you give it at all, they're going to take it all, and then when they go to sell it, or somebody else, or your neighbor, it's just butted up to the fence at that point.
That's how the houses are now.
Well, they are, but
Yeah, so
they do have room for a barbecue.
Depending on the house.
That's true. Okay. All right. Any more questions? I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there anybody that'd like to speak for or against? I don't. Okay. I'm going to close public comment. All right. Well, then we are looking for a motion or recommendation or whatever you'd like to do.
I'd like to make a recommendation to change it to the maximum.
You want to leave it to 1,200?
Yeah.
Okay.
To the
All right.
state's maximum.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to move it up to the 1,200. Is there a second? Okay. All right. Well, then let's do a roll call vote, please.
So are
Oh,
you,
did I miss?
just to be clear, so we have a motion for the recommended action
Correct.
with the modification that we change the code section I referenced at the beginning of my presentation to that January 1st, 2020, but then also make the alteration to make the maximum square footage back up to keep it at 1,200 square feet.
Correct.
Good. Good. Okay.
So if it passes, we're approving
It's a recommendation to the city council.
recommendation to city council, yes, okay. With the date modification and the increase, the whole ball of
Correct.
wax.
Correct. Okay. So,
Not just the increase.
all right.
I'll still second that.
Okay. So let's do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandhu,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Brookman,
No.
and Chairperson Sillman.
No. Okay. It passes for 1,200 feet. Right? 3-2. Okay. Thank you. All right. Future agenda items. Mr. Libby.
Okay. So we all remember the now withdrawn Henson Farms apartment project. We had I think it was September of last year, we had a packed chambers. And so the previous application has been withdrawn. We have a new package of entitlements. Basically, it will allow for, it's called Brownstone Estates, and will allow for 54 single-family residential lots. And so that is completing its way through the review process. And so we're looking at bringing that forward to your next meeting. We're also going to look at having a project, it's also a general plan amendment or rezone, at the southwest corner of Northgate and Live Oak Boulevard on the north side of town. On the north side of the Northgate would be the city's water treatment plant? Yes. Okay. And so they're asking to change the zoning from M1 light industrial to a C2, which is your community commercial, your basic retail. And so they're looking at wanting to rehab that property. And then last, we're looking at bringing forward to you the general plan refresh, if I can wrangle it out of the consultant's hands. Do want to note that we're going to cancel your October 23rd meeting, but we're going to come back at the first meeting in November. So that would be November 13th. And so I'll just, why don't we combine agenda items 8 and 9 since Ben's not here. Did have a couple items for you. One is the city is going to be closing the 5th Street Bridge this Saturday for maintenance, and that will be from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. So basically traffic's going to be rerouted over to the 10th Street Bridge, so just be aware of that this Saturday. So once again, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then last, from the Public Works side of the house, we have a project that is installing the, over in the Harder specific plan, is going to look at we have a contractor, and they're going to be closing Harder Parkway overnight beginning later this month to install a new 18-inch sewer main in Harder Parkway to connect the new Harder North development. So Harder North would be located just north of Dedar Baines Park and the city water tanks. So it'll allow for wastewater to serve that area. An additional benefit is just to the next door to Harder North, we have a multifamily property. So we're happy because that's will allow that to come online also. And so that project's going to be getting started. And so it's going to probably build out over the winter. So 2 points. It's not going to occur during the Sikh Festival, the first weekend in November. So no problems with that. They're looking at the project lasting through spring of 2025. So with that, that would conclude my comments, unless you have any questions.
All right. And anything for Sutter County?
Been very quiet.
Very quiet.
Yeah, nothing to report.
And Miss Justine Gill, do you have something that you'd like to say, or? Since you're at the end of we're at the end of our time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate being on the board. This is going to be my last meeting. I've learned a lot over the last few years and just want to thank everyone.
Wow. Go ahead.
Wait, did I not get the memo?
Yeah.
I was actually early for me, I'll have you know. Well,
She's a married woman, and she's
yeah.
got.
Well, we had talked last time,
things
so.
to do. Yeah,
Congratulations, it's been a pleasure serving with you.
it absolutely has. I was watching you on a trajectory. I was saying, Justine's going that way, and totally understand. But you can do that. Yeah. Well, we'll miss you. So, Doug, what happens with that? Does the city council just appoint someone else in her spot, or do we leave it as is? Oh, okay. Okay. I was curious. I guess I just got my answer. Okay. Okay, got it. All right. Well, is there anything else for the good? No? All right, we're going to adjourn at, I can't see the clock, 6:35, 6:39. Oh, a little longer than I expected, but we're good.